Hey, what's going on, guys? It's Pat. I'm taking a break from my attempt at being a low-rate SoundCloud rapper, and I'm bringing you a Melody of Memory review and podcast discussion, whatever thing. I'm joined by my friend here. I've referenced him many times. This is Sam, known by many other aliases. We'll just call him Sam today. So he's joining me to talk. I was gonna do like a write-all review, and I figured this will be easier, maybe more fun. Sam gets to be involved, so that's a plus.
Yeah, I just kind of invited myself.
Yeah, no, he really did. He was like, "So when are we doing the Melody of Memory podcast?" I was like, "Monday, I guess." That's fine.
Yeah.
So we'll just do that. So we wanted to talk about our thoughts on the game, and this will probably be pretty in depth. I think we want to try to keep it under 90 minutes. I don't know.
Hope so.
For the diehards out there, we linked the KH3 podcast that we did right after the release of that game, and that was what, 3.5 almost. So
it's a big boy.
Yeah,
it's a big boy.
So for all maybe 15 or 20 of you out there who looked at that, you might remember Sam from there. Yeah, we're gonna try to keep this a little more contained. Give our thoughts, the pros and cons, what we would maybe change about the game, what we would like to see maybe additionally added in the future if they decide to do DLC. And we'll go over, gameplay elements, story, presentation, all sorts of stuff. We're going to save the story stuff for the end, so don't worry about spoilers. I'll put up a timestamp for when that starts. So we can get started then.
Can we start with Dearly Beloved?
Oh, yeah, the new Dearly Beloved.
It's nice and jazzy.
It's very jazzy, yeah. When I heard that, was that in the original trailer, or...? They dropped it at some point
released
before.
it a little bit before the release.
Yeah.
It wasn't in a trailer, but...
Oh, right, yeah.
It did appear, though, before game.
Yeah, and we talked about this before, but I was saying, it's weird that you don't get to play any version of Dearly Beloved.
Yeah,
why? And especially this new one. It would be nice to just, have one song that says, it's from Melody of Memory, and you get to play the Dearly Beloved from this game, but...
Right.
Yeah, I don't know why that's not there. It's kind of a staple, but... just in terms of my initial reactions to the game, I think it's incredibly solid. It's what I expected it to be. What's your history with rhythm games? I've really only ever played, Guitar Hero, Rock Band, Dance Dance Revolution.
It's pretty minimal.
Yeah.
I've probably 90% of my rhythm game experience is from Beatles Rock Band. But other than that...
Oh, and Ice Cream Beat, of course.
Oh, yes, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, Birth by Sleep
which blows this out of the water. I beat some Ice Cream, every day compared to this. So.
Yeah.
And you got KH2 Atlantica, of course, so that's the bulk of our experience. So
yeah, right.
Compared to those, this is
yeah, this is a big step up.
Yeah.
For sure. You could tell the professionals were brought in.
Right, absolutely. So in terms of what I was expecting and what I got, I was very pleased with it. I'm sure there'll be people out there who are, predictably annoyed by how often the story stuff is delivered, which is really not at all until the end. I don't know about you, I wasn't expecting to get, the slow drip of it. I was like, oh, this will probably be hey, beat Melody of Memory, and you can see, 2-3 cutscenes that should have been at the end of Remind.
I maybe expected more of a slow drip, but
right.
I wasn't too shocked that it was all at the end. It could have went a bunch of different ways for me. I also wasn't disappointed that it was all at the end. It gave me something to strive for, and I was trying to pull off the all-nighter, so it got me to the 8 o'clock hour, and I was like, all right, I'm finishing this morning.
Yes,
so it was something to keep me motivated.
Right, so you got it digitally at midnight, and you did the all-nighter until 8 in the morning?
Yes.
Yeah, so I didn't get mine physically until the next day, so I didn't get to do that, but so you were ahead of me by about a day on that.
Yeah.
And we both played the shit out of the demo as well.
Oh, sure, I've got Wave of Darkness in my sleep. My fingers moved to that in the car. Right. It's a disgrace.
Yeah. Yeah, I wouldn't, because he told me, because I think you were playing it before I was, and you were like, yo, if you close the game, your scores get erased. So, I was like, I'm not closing my game until the game comes out.
Yeah.
The only reason I did is because I needed to get footage for the rap song. Have you heard the rap song, by the way?
Oh.
Yeah, some people don't like it.
You already know. Well,
some people say it's straight up bad.
Yeah, you can't trust Reddit opinions.
Listen. You take 100 Kingdom Hearts fans with no musical training and ask all of them to write a rap song to a pre-existing beat. I think I come out above replacement level.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not saying it's fucking, it's not fire, but it's I think it's above replacement level.
It's not bad.
I don't think it's...
bad. Nobody should be describing it as straight up bad.
If you want to call it bad, that's fine, but straight up with the hyphen bad, I fucking doubt it.
That's too much.
Yeah,
too much.
I'm not saying you need to put it on your iTunes or anything, but Jesus Christ.
But put it on your iTunes.
And as soon as I can figure out how to monetize it, I will. All right. What was I saying? Yeah, so we played the shit out of the demo, and that was addicting. I mean, just having those 4 songs, like, I would just go back in over and over, and like, because the feedback is so good, and that's what this series is, you know, almost famously good at, is like the visual and the auditory, you know, almost the tactile feedback of when you hit things, and, you know, how things look when you hit them, and how it sounds, you know, it's just very satisfying. So par for the course as far as that goes. I just think it's also like a very charming game, you know, in terms of just the small details, in terms of, it kind of serves as a, like there's literally a museum section on the menu, but like it's almost like a Kingdom Hearts kind of gallery or museum. Like it's very appreciative of the series' history.
It's a musical tour through Kingdom Hearts.
Exactly.
It actually is. I mean, it's weirdly a good game to introduce somebody to Kingdom Hearts, even if somebody was just gonna watch you play it.
Right, for sure.
The music is one of the better parts of it throughout the whole series.
Yeah.
Or one of the better parts of the series throughout. There's not a game in the series that has bad music. So if you're going to introduce somebody through one grain of the entire series, the music is a good way to do that,
Absolutely.
I would say.
And you've got the Kairi narration. Like, if you really wanted the story beats, like, no other game kind of gives you everything in that short amount of time.
Right.
Yeah, so very charming. I don't know, there's one thing I noticed, and just like small stupid things. When you play Don't Think Twice, every time Utada says 3, you have to do 3 presses.
Yeah,
I love that shit.
It's so good. So good.
A lot of the tilts and Let It Go match what Elsa's doing with her arms or her foot. Like when she does the stomp, like the famous she's stomping on the ice, it's a down tilt. So, and then at the end is Simple and Clean. There's tilts at the end, and it's one stick goes left, one stick goes right, and that's when Sora and Kairi are separated.
Oh.
Dude, the fucking layers.
Wow.
Yeah, right?
See, that's good stuff.
I'm sure there's all sorts of other things in there that I missed, but I just picked up on those ones. How about the different, another charming thing, the teams? Like, they very easily could have, and I know they love, and I don't tire of it, I know some people do, but like the KH1 Sora model, like even looking at the KH1 Sora model for, you know, almost every side game, you see it in Calm and Coded and probably something other I'm forgetting. But the addition of the Team Days, Birth by Sleep, the 3D one I was kind of whatever. Because when I saw there were 4 slots, I was like, okay, well it'll be Sora, Donald, and Goofy, the Days trio, and then Birth by Sleep. And I was like, well, what's that 4th one gonna be? And then you actually get Team 3D before Birth by Sleep, and I'm like, oh, well that's. I mean, you want Riku in there somehow, right?
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, but you know, famous beloved characters Meow Wow and Komori Bat. I was like, It's weird that you don't get to play as Kairi at all in the game, and we'll get to that. But
I think as a way of getting Riku involved, I don't mind Team 3D as much as I did at 5 in the morning.
Right.
At first, I was like, "Man, that's so dumb." How is Meow Wow in this game over
as a playable party member?
Yeah, right. And we still haven't gotten like a playable Kairi side character or something.
Well, I kind of figured like maybe the 4th team will be like led by Kairi with Sora and Riku, but maybe they just didn't want to have the overlap with the characters.
Sure.
I thought maybe it would be like, oh, the 4th option, you'll get to like mix and match, like build a custom team. Like let's say I want fucking Axel, Aqua, and Meow Wow, you know, the hottest threesome imaginable.
Yeah.
I have that as my team. I would always roll with that team, but no, it's, you know. And I wanted to say, and I think you had this in your notes too, but like the game is given a lot more depth by the addition of stuff like the missions, the items, the synthesis. It's stuff that you don't need in this kind of game. You know, it's a rhythm game, so it's like they very well could have just given you a track list, even just in the World Tour format, and said, all right, here you go. But you have these additional tasks that you can perform, and you know, if you're playing it on Proud and you're playing it well enough, you'll pretty much, you know, complete those by default. But you know, for those people who are playing on, you know, beginner or standard, and there are some challenges that you need to do it on Proud. There are different, you know, items that you get for each song, different tracks you can synthesize. I think that's a neat addition. I didn't mess around with it too much. I don't know about you. I didn't really use the items until, you know, the end of the game when I wanted to boost up the XP. But the synthesis too, you know, I pretty much just I backloaded that and just kind of synthesized all the tracks at the end. But I don't know.
Since I did that flurry of playing the game, like the first 8 hours of its lifespan, I did use the potion so that I wasn't up for 12 hours in a row. I was insistent on getting done with it during the morning, so I had no pride in just...
I totally understand that.
Yeah.
I wanted to see how the game played, like, without the items. I just wanted to see, like, how hard is this going to get? And that's another thing I wanted to mention. When we saw the 4 tracks in the demo, we were like, I wonder, you know, how hard is this game going to be? Because the hardest track on Proud Mode was Wave of Darkness at 15. And And I was like, oh, it'll probably go up to 20. And you were like, no, I think it'll be 15. And you were right. You know, as per usual. Like, I was wrong.
Since we roasted Reddit for you, allow me to roast Reddit a little bit.
Okay.
I put, right after the demo came out, I put up on Reddit, I think this is going to stop at 15. I think that's going to be the peak. Maybe there'll be, a secret 16 level song or something like that, but 15 will be the thing. And Reddit torched me. The first 5 comments are just like, idiot.
Stupid.
It's going up to 20.
Yeah, I mean, that's what I thought, because it's a weird number to end on.
It's well, this isn't going to be very accessible if Wave of Darkness isn't at least in one of the top 2 tiers. I mean, if this goes up to 20, I'm very afraid of what the 20s are going to look like.
But part of me kind of wanted it to, you know, part of me was I kind of just want to get stuck on one of these. And I did keep a counter. We always like to keep a rect counter of every time we play a new game. We kept one for KH3. You kept one for Remind. I forgot to do it. But or did you? I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. The rect counter goes back years. Yeah. It's a staple for me.
I'm pulling up mine now. I don't remember it offhand. Okay, 49 times I died. And that's no items on Proud. So I kind of expected to die more often. I'm not saying I'm really great at the game, because I died 11 times on that final boss. I won't say what it is in case, spoilers. But that last one got me 11 times. There's a couple of unlockable tracks that got me a few times, but most tracks I was able to beat within 5 tries. So I was kind of expecting a couple more difficult songs. I'll talk about later when we get into the gameplay why I think some of these are maybe easier than they can be, just based on how the controls are set up. But was there anything else you wanted to get to in terms of presentation?
About the difficulty, kind of how it creeped up. I thought the leveling system was going to make more of a difference, but I'm glad that it didn't. I was really not looking forward to being at the end game and you'd be able to tank 50 hits or something like that. I was happy that's not how it ended up being, but I kind of expected that it was not going to be what I wanted, but it ended up being a pretty positive creep, though it didn't seem to change much at all.
I gotta say, I don't fully understand the leveling and the stats. You can see defense and strength listed on your characters, and what does strength have to do with anything, right? Everything dies in a hit.
No idea.
So I don't know. I never fully understood that. If it's just cosmetic, if it's just an aesthetic thing, whatever. It's a bit confusing. It's kind of like how you can see the 2 ability crystal abilities listed, and it makes you think, oh, can I change these for whatever reason, even though it really is just purely visual. So I was wondering, is this having any effect on the songs? Am I gonna have an easier time playing this song with a level 20 team as opposed to a level 1 team? I would assume you do, right?
Does it give you a wider hitbox or something like that? Do you have more time to get the Rainbow Excellent or something? I feel like that's not how it is.
I don't think it is either. I would hope it's not, because I would like to think that regardless of how high your level gets, the songs remain as difficult as they were at the beginning. I don't want the game to get watered down, and I don't think it does. So I'm just very confused by the leveling of it all.
Not to mention, it would make no sense for you to have to be less precise.
Right? Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it should have to get harder, if anything. That's really all I had in terms of the presentation. But, I have high marks for it as far as that goes. It's very charming, very well done. We'll talk about song selection. You want to get into that, actually, the song selection? Because there's a huge negative, at least for me, I think for you as well, the KH3 of it all. What did they... and we're going to talk about this for at least 5 minutes, but it's what were they doing?
In my notes I have KH3 songs got fucking shafted.
Right, yeah.
They really didn't put the A+ effort into
the
KH3,
A++ effort.
Think. Yeah,
the triple plus.
The famed S level effort. No, they didn't really. It seems like some of it, and we've theorized.
Yeah, we'll talk about that too. But go ahead.
Yeah, that it's cosmetic or at least a development thing, where maybe they didn't have enough time or didn't want to put in the
effort, quite
Unreal
frankly.
Engine.
Oh yeah, that too.
Backgrounds with the old models.
Right. So,
which again is an effort thing. Is it laziness? I kind of think it is.
I think so. Let's just reset for people who may not understand what we're talking about. The KH3 songs. So first of all, there's only a couple. It's not like in the first 6 or so games where every world has your field theme, your battle theme, and then maybe an additional offshoot like a boss battle song every now and then. KH3 has, so you'll get to Kingdom of Redacted, because we don't say we don't say Corona anymore.
Yep.
Which Sam pointed out to me. I was like, "Yo, Kyrie's naming all of the KH3 world names, but she didn't say Kingdom of Corona." And he was like, "Well, it's because of the virus." I really think it is, because she'll say Toy Box. I'm actually gonna insert that clip right now that I sent to you, right? Because he texted me beforehand. He's like, "Yo, Kyrie's gonna name like all of the worlds." I'm like, "Oh, okay, I'll keep an eye out for that." So as soon as she says like Olympus, Fairy Tale Kingdom, I was like, all right, I'm gonna start recording. So I'm gonna play that clip right now.
In the Fairy Tale Kingdom, he met one of the new 7 hearts.
Oh, so we're not saying Kingdom of Corona, huh?
And in Toy Box,
What the fuck?
reside where you least expect them.
Okay. You're not gonna say Kingdom of Corona, but you'll say Toy Box? They shouldn't know that it's called Toy Box. Okay, so we're back. So each KH3 world has like one track. You got the field theme for Corona. You got the Monster, Monster Smash and Monstropolis, which is the battle theme. You got Let It Go for Arendelle.
Robot Overdrive.
They skip Caribbean. We'll get to that as well in terms of the kind of strange inconsistent. That's what I said. I said in terms of like the positive sticking point for this game, it's the charm and the appreciation for the series history. The negative is the inconsistency. Like, it's a very inconsistent kind of experience for me.
I agree.
But the KH3 songs are all done through the memory dive, which is introduced to you at that first KH3 track. It does the same format control scheme as the boss battle, but you're like 2/3, 3/4 into the game, and it's like, hey, here's this new style. And you're not going to be running through the field and hitting enemies. You're going to be doing the memory dive. So we're theorizing, the only time you're doing the memory dive in these regular levels is when they're KH3 levels, except for the graveyard, which they were able to pull from KH2 because they had the assets from, when you go to fight Lingering Will. So, we're trying to figure out did they not want to render the environments? Did they not want to render, the KH3 enemies? Because you're not seeing any enemies from KH3 in those sections, because it's all done through the notes.
Yep.
So and we're thinking maybe it was a matter of time or just an unwillingness to do it. I don't know. It's disappointing though.
As a KH3 truther,
right?
And I know you are too.
That's right.
It's really disappointing to see KH3. And while we have Dream Drop,
right? Well, not even that
fully fleshed out.
Not even that, but we're pulling from Coded. We're pulling from the piano collection.
Yeah,
we're pulling from the Renaissance songs.
Yeah.
So how
we have time for Circle of Life?
Right,
but
exactly.
The most recent release,
right? The most recent
major
release. It's a main title game. We can't play more than, I don't even know how many tracks. What is it like? It's under 12, I think. It's maybe right around 11 or 12.
Sure.
So it's just disappointing. And now obviously this is a layup for DLC, which I have mixed feelings about in the first place. Like, if you had the the ability to include this, I would prefer it's included. But if we're gonna wait, I will gladly pay $5 for all of those missing tracks.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it's at least another 10 tracks that we get to play. Also, give us more original Disney songs, since we can do that apparently.
And I'm really happy. Don't get us wrong.
Yeah.
I think we're both very happy that the Renaissance
they're
songs
great.
are in there.
Yeah.
But it just, and I don't think they were, if they were at the expense of the Kingdom Hearts 3 songs, I would prefer the KH3 songs be in there.
Yeah.
And I don't think that was the case. However, if you're going to put effort into one or the other, I would rather the game come out in March of next year, just so that we could get the KH3 songs.
Absolutely, and I have no problem waiting for, what's that Shigeru Miyamoto quote? A good game is only good if you put it out after delaying it. Whatever.
Something like that. Yeah, that's it.
I'll put that on screen. A good game's only good if you put it out whenever you're supposed to. That's what he said. Yeah, that's what he said. Okay.
One more thing on song selection.
Yeah.
I have a couple of worlds that I think they omitted that weren't from KH3.
Right.
But just throughout the game. They still could use the Deep Jungle songs. I don't know why they ignore those. You could even put them to the backdrop of Olympus or something like that, but maybe use the songs. I don't know why they... Yeah,
you could still, do an offshoot where, a Darkened World or whatever it's called, and be like, okay, here's Deep Jungle, here's Having a Wild Time, let you play those. And even if they wanted to still have the environment, you don't have to throw Tarzan in there. I think you still own, generic jungle scenery, right? So it's I don't know.
Port Royal and the Caribbean.
Yeah, what is up with that? Well, so here's what I'm noticing. There's a consistent thread, Tarzan aside. It's the Caribbean, there's no Tron in Space Paranoids, and there's no Jack Skellington in terms of party members. Mm-hmm. So those are all offshoot properties. Those aren't in the Disney theatrical canon.
Right.
So did they have trouble securing the rights
I would guess that would be right, but they were able to use This Is Halloween.
Right, so it's
which is the, theme song.
Right.
It's not something that Yoko wrote herself, which complicates the...
Yeah, so it's like, I have no idea.
Gymnastics here.
Yeah, it's like, maybe they have the rights to the song, but not the character. Like, I don't know, is it like you gotta go through Tim Burton or something? Like, I don't get it. But, yeah, so it was weird to not see Jack show up in either of the Halloween towns. It was weird not to see Tron show up in Space Paranoids. And it's weird not to have either of the Port Royal or Caribbean. So, I don't know. It's just a weird thing. Also, no 100 Acre Wood. The one game where I want this world to show up, it's not here.
There was one other world that I think was really loudly missing for me. They didn't use the most musical world in Kingdom Hearts. They didn't use Symphony of Sorcery, which again could be a rights thing,
I guess.
But they were able to use them 8 years ago. What happened in those 8 years?
Yeah, because it does make that last Dream Drop section feel like, what's missing here? Like, you feel like a hollowness there, but it's not there. Also, and this was just kind of in terms of a personal snub, I really wanted Skull-Eyed Kylum, both tracks there, the field and the battle, because those are just, they're bops.
At least we got Rise of the Union.
Yeah, that's really hot. Yeah.
Which, speaking of inconsistency, it was weird that there were all those memory dives and then Rise of the Union got back to the traditional.
Well, right, because takes place in the graveyard. So that's I can use that. It's very strange. It's very inconsistent. Okay, so you want to get into the gameplay of it all then?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we kind of have some disagreement here. I prefer the memory dive boss battle scheme. You kind of prefer the standard one.
Traditional style. Yeah.
I mean, for me, I feel like the boss battle, the memory dive, it's like you have more things to do, Like, with the regular format, you're pressing... See, part of my problem with it is that let's say you have, like, a string of, 50 notes ahead of you, right? And they're spaced out differently, but you can get through that entire sequence by just pressing one button. You have 3 buttons available to you. You can press X, L1, or R1, but it doesn't matter which one you press, which... in a way is good because you don't have to focus too much on it, but it'd be neat if there was like maybe an added bonus to pressing the corresponding button to where the enemy is appearing, like that Rainbow Excellent. Like maybe the timing on that is already so finicky between the regular Excellent and the Rainbow one. Maybe you get the Rainbow Excellent instead by actually pressing the corresponding button with how it's lined up on your staff. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like I feel like that would be like an extra way to. It doesn't force you to use all the buttons, but it also gives you a reward for taking the time and using like the mental energy to think about where each one is appearing.
Right.
So I don't know, but you were saying you prefer the standard style.
I have 2 thoughts on everything that just happened there.
Yeah.
One, I find the triggers very satisfying to use, which you're a more experienced video game player than I am, but I find myself very rarely using the triggers in any game that I play, so this was kind of a treat to actually be able to use buttons that I usually don't press.
Right, yeah.
I get bored with the X button, especially because I, play a lot of Kingdom Hearts, is my predominant game, so mashing X is kind of what I do, so to actually be able to use some other buttons on the controller was a nice difference
change
from
of
what
pace,
I'm used to, yes.
I just want to plug, because you mentioned like using triggers. Ape Escape, I love Ape Escape.
Oh yeah.
That game you jump with L1 or R1 and R2. Just wanted to. If you haven't played Ape Escape, go on Amazon, look up, or you can get it on a PS Store. So
it's in the top 50 Patty games.
It is in the top 50 Patty games. That video's coming out sometime never. All right.
Regarding the memory dives,
yes.
My thoughts on the memory dives. I actually like the memory dives a lot. I like the concept a lot, and the boss fights as well. But to talk about the memory dives in particular, I think the concept is very cool. It's kind of a viewing experience as well as a playing experience.
I'll get distracted.
Really appreciate.
I'll get I'm like, oh, what's going on in there? Like, I want to see it. Yeah.
I played all the memory dives today. I unlocked most of them last night or the night before and finally got around to going through all the character themes and everything today. And I think I decided what really actually bothers me about the memory dives. It's the combination of the recoil when you miss a note and the noise that it makes when you miss a note.
Yeah.
Now I know the answer to that is get good, bro.
Right, yeah.
However, for those of us who aren't good, there is a really negative thing I've got around that missing that's different from the traditional games. I know maybe that's part of the point to encourage you to
not miss,
wipe that out.
Right.
Yeah. However, in the memory dives specifically, I find it especially distracting because they're almost emotionally manipulative. Like, you're going through the scenes throughout the whole series, and I had this really weird moment where I was gliding over the Shion death scene, and all of a sudden I miss a note, it's like, boing! I'm like, wow, that really just took me out of it. I'm not like an immersion stickler like you've mentioned in the past video. Now, I'm not really like that. I don't mind, the glowing walls in Cage or anything like that, but the boing on the really emotional scenes was taking me out of the memory dives. And, when it happens and you, miss, 3 in a row or something because your timing's just a little bit off, it's kind of a breaker for me.
Yeah, and I mean, I think the thing with that is, there should be, a negative feedback for missing a note, but it shouldn't impact the next note,
And part of what my problem actually was with it is that what was hitting you shouldn't make Sora, fly back like you just got hit by a truck. It's not a Heartless that hit
him.
It's just
like
this ghostly note that kind of flights by.
Yeah,
wasn't working for me.
I also wanted to say, and this is more so, and I'm not judging the game based on this, I'm not judging the game based on what it is and not what it isn't, but I think another aspect of why maybe the game is not as difficult as it could be is, at least in terms of my experience with rhythm games, you'll get penalized for hitting a note or hitting a button when you don't have to. So if you're playing Guitar Hero and you're strumming when there's not a note there, you'll get the little negative feedback noise and you'll lose points. With Melody and Memory, if you have 2 notes coming towards you and you decide I'm going to hit all 3, you don't get penalized for that. So in a way, it's nice. Like I said, you can just kind of play it safe. It's like an insurance policy. But on the other, you can kind of cheese certain sections. Like if you got a string of 2s coming at you, you can just mash all 3. My example for that is the end of One Winged Angel. There's this crazy section at the end on Proud where it's alternating between 2s and 3s and 1s. But you just the key is to just mash all 3, and you'll make it through no matter what. So I don't think I would have been able to beat the song by now if I didn't do that. But on the other hand, it's there'd be a little bit more of a higher skill ceiling if you had to really pay attention to how many buttons you're pressing at once.
If there wasn't a premiere mode or performer mode, apologies. If there wasn't that, they may have tried to work something like that in. But since they already have a built-in critical mode type thing, maybe they weren't as concerned about that type of thing.
Yeah, honestly, I almost completely forgot about that mode. I dabbled with it in a demo. I haven't even gotten to play any of these new songs with the performer mode. So yeah, maybe that'll scratch the itch for anyone who's wants it to be a little bit tougher.
Yeah.
I did want to say, I don't know if you agree with me on this, but I find the gliding portions kind of pointless. In terms of the regular songs, when you're hitting the green notes in the air.
Yeah.
Unless there's something happening on the ground for your party members to hit, I feel like it's just a breather.
Yeah.
Unless you're really zigzagging around, if it's a straight line or even just a line with small deviations, I'd rather just be, hitting more notes on the ground.
I agree. I theorized during the demo that in the actual launch that those would be a way to recover health since they were green. They had the color scheme down, and they did kind of happen at points right after you went through a big section. They were kind of your midpoint, the famed Cage.
The Cage 2 midpoint. But
I figured that may have been a way to heal there, but that ended up not being the case.
It really is more so a heal for the actual player because it gives you some time to breathe.
Yep.
So yeah, it's fine. It spices things up a bit, when you initially do that jump and you have to sustain it, and I just feel like I'm getting restless when there's nothing else going on the ground. I really like it when you have to glide and you have to pay attention to what's happening on the left and right and, time your presses and also be navigating your glider as you're dealing with that. I like that simultaneous action.
It is something that you can completely ignore, though, too.
Yeah, you don't have to do it.
You're not going to get misses for it.
Yeah, that's true. You get you'll complete challenges for doing it, but in terms of actually completing the song, you don't have to do it.
Yep.
Okay, so here's I have a big, I don't want to call it a rant, but it's I felt maybe somewhere around the Cage 2 section of the game, I started to feel the gameplay's getting a little bit stale, a little bit samey. I still enjoyed it, I was having fun, but I was I wish more elements are being introduced. So the issue here is the campaign follows the series roughly chronologically, and as it should as far as I'm concerned. But Yoko Shimomura, she didn't compose music, 15 some years ago with the intention of it being used in a rhythm game 2 decades later, so it's not like they were like, Yoko, you gotta make the songs harder as they go. Like, you have to, like, Destiny Islands has to be piss easy, and then when we get to, Keyblade Graveyard and KH3, it's just gotta be like a fucking flurry of notes. Obviously, you can't scale the difficulty that way. So, the issue with the difficulty and the pacing of how the game plays is that, the songs towards the beginning of the game, like Bustin' Up on the Beach, that's like a level 13 on Proud. That's going to be, roughly the same kind of skill level required for the songs towards the end of the game. So you can't scale difficulty that way. So I think the ideal way to remedy that would be you introduce additional gameplay elements, kind of like with the memory dive, but a little more sprinkled out and spread out, just to spice things up. Like, I don't see any reason why you can't start introducing the tilts into, the normal standard style of gameplay. Let's say you make it to Chain of Memories or Days, and it's like, all right, introducing the tilt function. Now you have to tilt your control stick to certain directions in order to hit an enemy. So I feel like that could have spiced things up a bit. You can introduce, like, the holds in the memory dive or the boss battle sections. You can add those into the standard style of gameplay, maybe around Birth by Sleep or Dream Drop. And then, that kind of goes back to me finding that style of gameplay more engaging, so that's kind of me being biased there. And there's other stuff, I was thinking, like, oh, what if you added like friendly characters that show up in the song that are offbeat, so if you hit them you lose points. Like, let's say you got a fucking Moogle that shows up in the middle of a string of beats, and it's like, oh, you don't want to hit that one because you'll lose points for that, you'll lose HP. It would just be a little way to test, like, oh, make sure you're going off of your auditory senses and not your visual one, because that's the point of the rhythm game, is to make sure you're on beat with the rhythm. So I think it would be neat if they, like, tested you in a way every now and then, introduce a couple additional kind of, like in we just tried out the versus mode. You got those what are they called, tricks? Yeah. Like, you should be tricking the player in that single player campaign into testing their abilities as they go on, because you can't scale the game to get progressively difficult with each song if you're going chronologically.
At the very least, I think they could have added more boss fights to break up things.
Yes.
And I think we know where they would have been. I think Marluxia is an easy one. I think Young Xehanort is a layup. I can't believe that he wasn't.
Yeah, that was very strange.
He's in the North Court.
Yeah, right. Yeah, if you're in the North Court. Yeah.
And they probably could have done something with that Riku fight at the end of Days, or maybe even Saix. There's a Roxas versus Saix fight in there that they probably could have used, especially because he's one of the bigger bads for the majority of the series. So that big redemption. For the most part, the creep was a little weird, and how you didn't really change your style at all throughout the entire game,
right?
Except for those occasional boss fights and then the KH3 memory dive.
Which is like, and that's the thing, is like it's all tacked on at the end. Like all these new elements, you got 3 instances where it's different throughout the campaign, and then you got that big string of KH3 songs at the end. Like the Maleficent boss battle in the Birth by Sleep section, like, totally threw me off. I wasn't expecting that. But I feel like if you can have her in the middle of Birth by Sleep, you can have, 4 or 5 other bosses sprinkled throughout the campaign. And, part of this is my fault, because, like, I kind of artificially extended how long it was going to take me to beat the game. Like, you were trying to get to the end, right? So you were telling me, if you want to make this go quick, branch off to the left instead of going a Dream Drop distance, you can go through Birth by Sleep, and you can just get to the KH3 stuff that way. But I was like, I'm not really in a rush, I'll play every song and get to the end. So maybe that kind of, like, speaks to my fatigue as I went through. I was like, this is getting a little bit samey. But yeah, so that, just a minor suggestion. Obviously, they're not going to change anything. That's just how I would have preferred to see things.
I also found it odd that Dream Drop or Birth by Sleep were optional.
Yeah,
I feel like they're both pretty essential. At least, as essential as anything as far as, getting to where we are now.
Right.
How can you tell the story of Kingdom Hearts without the Dream Drop distance stuff?
Yeah, you can kind of yada Dream Drop.
You can yada it, but I still feel like something needs to be mentioned.
Yeah.
You can't go from Birth by Sleep to
KH3.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, you're right.
As far as you know, in Birth by Sleep, Master Xehanort is now a young guy, and suddenly there's the old Coot again.
Right, yeah, so that
what happened there?
You do need that bridge for sure.
Sure.
Yeah. Okay, well, that's really all I had in terms of, like, gameplay suggestions or, critiques. Overall, still love it. I'm still going to play it as soon as I'm done recording this podcast, so it's like,
It's extremely fun.
It's very fun.
Let's not get the wrong idea.
Yeah.
We're maybe being more critical than we actually are,
yeah.
But the truth is that the game is extremely fun.
Yeah.
I had a very good time playing it, and I've had a very good time revisiting it, which I think is the true way to play the game, is to go back to it.
Yeah.
The campaign modes, whatever. But I think being able to return to it, much like other rhythm games that could just be played for fun, maybe as even like a party game, it's kind of how the game is meant to be played, weirdly.
Yeah. Well, I mean, what you're going back for is like to up those scores, you know? I mean, that's what I'm playing. Like, I'll fucking sit and play Guitar Hero 2 still in 2020 because I still haven't beaten Misirlou on expert mode. It's impossible. So if anyone can help me with that, my fingers start to fall off towards the end. But, yeah, so it's like, you know, the draw is to go back and increase your scores, you know, like you said, campaigns, whatever. I'm gonna be playing it for months. And, you know, guys, I did that Cage tier list game ranking. I think this slots in. Where does this slot in go? You say first, and I'll say.
My gut reaction is right after Dream Drop Distance. Mm-hmm. We have a very similar list, so I don't think anybody will be too thrown off by where that exists. Dream Drop's like number 5 for me or something. Yeah. This is probably right after that, behind Calm and Birth by Sleep.
Okay, yep, that's exactly where mine's going to be. Yeah, I would say, you know, you still got the top 3 main games, and then Birth by Sleep, then Chain of Memories, and I think I'm slotting this, like, I'd rather play this instead of Dream Drop, you know? People, you know, and some people will judge a game based on, like, you know, its significance. Like, obviously, this is not as significant of a game as Dream Drop Distance in terms of, you know, plot elements and stuff. But in terms of, like, what do I want to sit down and physically play, and how does it feel? I'd rather play Melody Memory almost 9 times out of 10. So that's where I'm slotting it in. And
I'm on that.
Yeah, and in terms of like giving it a score, because this is technically a review, you know, I think I'm settling around like an 8. There's things that I would like to see included, on things I'm a little upset that aren't in there, but you know, an 8 is a great score as far as I'm concerned, and I feel like I'm more generous to when I'm judging a game than not. You know, I feel like I'll play a shitty you know, licensed movie game, and I'll be like, well, as long as it didn't break, I'll at least give it a 2, you know?
Sure.
So, you know, 8, you know, low 8, 8.5, I don't know about you, but...
Yeah, I mean, my scale is so weird. I feel almost like I haven't played enough to be able to properly judge it. As a Kingdom Hearts game, it's probably, you know, about average. It's probably like a 5 or a 6. In the grand scheme of games, it's probably around an 8, as you said. If I had played more, then I probably would be able to say that more confidently, but I feel like an 8 is probably a fair way to go with it. And I do think that this, as I play it more, because I will play it a lot more than I ever played Dream Drop Distance.
Right, exactly.
It has a very good chance of jumping over that for me. I have to put it through the Kingdom Hearts ranking algorithm before I'm able to actually say this. I have a system.
Which I was going to say, that's not a thing he's just saying. There is a ranking system.
There's a spreadsheet for that.
Of course, you have to have a spreadsheet.
So we'll see how that goes, but... just based on how the story of this game went, I feel like it'll probably fall below Dream Drop. Not that I'm high on the writing at all in Dream Drop, but just because there's more in Dream Drop, the quantity kind of pulls it ahead maybe a little bit. Absolutely. There's just a little bit more to look forward to as far as driving things forward.
Yeah, so I mean, final thoughts for me in terms of reviewing it. You know, if you're a fan of Kingdom Hearts, you know, if you've been playing these games for as long as, you know, however many years it's been, 16, 17, what are we at now? 2002, yeah. So it's been a long ass time. You've been playing these games since you were a kid. You know, you're gonna love this. If you like the music, you're gonna love it especially. But if you are, you know, as big of a Kingdom Hearts fan as we are, you're gonna notice a couple of things that are missing, a couple of head scratchers. So, you know, that's where I'm taking, you know, points off. But 8.5, I think it's a good game. I would recommend buying it. There's probably the only game I would really recommend to a new person to get into the series would be KH1, but this would be the next best thing, I think.
Yep.
If you want to experience Kingdom Hearts in some facet, Melody Memory, it's not a bad way to go. Okay, so here's where the spoilers are going to start. We're going to talk about the plot stuff, which, as we said, is, you know, backloaded towards the end. What do you think, Sam? I mean, it's...
We don't leave this game with a whole lot of information, but it's still very intriguing to watch, which I think is always one of the big strengths of Kingdom Hearts, that no matter what's happening, it's always very intriguing, and there's always interesting ideas being thrown out there, and you leave every Kingdom Hearts game, I think, with this wide open world of possibilities of what could come next, and I think that's why, for the most part, it's lasted for so long.
Yeah.
There's always something to look forward to, and I think that this is no exception to that rule. There's a lot to be excited about. There's some dumb stuff towards the first half of the new story stuff that I wasn't a fan of, but I think everything in the last 15 minutes was like really, really good ideas being thrown out there, and I'm excited to see what they do with them.
Okay, let's start out with the dumb stuff.
Yeah.
I've been pretty insulated in terms of like the discussion and the response to the game. I have to imagine that people are pretty, nonplussed about how they're handling Kairi still, right? I mean, I get that, like, for the record, the final boss is Master Xehanort, right? So he shows up, he's like, but did you expect we'd be getting more Christopher Lloyd Xehanort after Cage 3? I kind of didn't.
I have many points about this Christopher Lloyd Xehanort popping up again.
Well, I guess he's just kind of like an apparition, right? He's not, so whatever. But, I'm not expecting her to be able to, like, one-on-one beat him in a fight. But, like, it's almost like a slap in the face, like, oh, here's Sora, he's gonna show up and save you, like, ethereally, he's gonna phase into you and be like, don't worry, babe, I'll take care of it. Like, I was saying to you, it's almost as if they write Kairi, because we know that they're capable of having strong female characters, right? Because we have Aqua, Larxene for her faults is like, you can't say she's not a strong character.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's not even like an anti-woman thing, it's like anti-Kairi explicitly.
They actively are really dragging Kairi. Like every opportunity to make her seem like she can't handle shit.
Yeah.
They take that opportunity to show that she can't handle shit.
Yeah.
And I think she can. I don't know why they continue to hold back on this.
And I said to you, it's almost as if she's being written by a person who gets really upset by, like, oh, the social justice warriors are trying to shoehorn feminism and girl power into my games.
Yeah.
Which, like, I don't care that she's a female character or not. It's just mostly that she's, like, useless. Like, she's still useless. Like, my jaw dropped when she said, like, oh, I have to complete my training. What the fuck were you doing in that forest? What was that then? And, like, Remind had me higher on her because she actually got to show her stuff a little bit. You got to play as her. She seemed perfectly capable and competent. And then again, and here, she's like, oh, actually, I need to go read the lessons again. I'm a little rusty on some of these things. I couldn't believe that. You were saying they started her off way too early.
In Cage 2, Kairi is set up to be kind of a badass going forward. She's able to, use the Keyblade all the way back then, and she goes right in, guns blazing, and starts killing shit.
Yeah.
She goes for it. So you're kind of led to believe, like, oh, this is the new Kairi.
Right.
Like, no damsel in distress here.
Right.
Like, she's got this. And then they kind of transferred some of those attributes to Aqua once they got a new character, and then Kairi kind of became... No, but Kairi kind of got put on the back burner and became quite a bit weaker right around that same time.
Yeah.
It's really weird how they kind of regressed her.
Yeah, that's actually interesting. I never thought of it that way, where it's like Aqua's like the new kid on the block, so we're going to give her all of the strong traits and development to her instead.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, Kairi has, she has come a certain amount from being like the object to be saved. Like, she is at least getting to participate.
Yeah.
But it's like she's still being treated as if she's got like her training wheels on. And it's like, well, I mean, she just fought in like the fucking, world-ending...
Xion, Zayax, like, these are no jokes.
Yeah, and she fought Master Xehanort at the end of Remind, so it's like, what are we doing? I don't know. I guess it's just going to be, 4 or 5 more games until she's, she's got her big girl panties on. She can handle things on her own.
Yeah, it makes me kind of excited about her hanging out with Aqua now, and that's where the training's going to be. I'd be way more excited if this was 10 years ago, but now we're in a place where it's like, can we get everybody on the same level?
Let's get caught up.
It seems like she should be there now. I don't know why she's continued to be held back. It's not even her fault.
Yeah, it's just kind of sad. It's just sad that they did this to her.
Yeah. But I think they also like changed her look, which made her seem a little weaker too. Like, they made her seem younger than she is. It's almost like her aging was like 13 in Cage 1, 14 in Cage 3, her current model, and then 15, the oldest in Cage 2.
Yeah, she
the haircut or something like that. Yeah. Something made her seem...
I mean, she's got like bunny ears on her hood too. That's not helping. It's like... you have enough people cosplaying as animals in this series now,
Yeah, Cubby.
Yeah, of course, that's what I was talking about. Yeah, not the foretellers. I was talking about Cubby.
To switch gears a little bit, but still on that part of the story stuff towards the end, just about Master Xehanort. I took some issue with how he's portrayed in this.
Bro, I just gotta say, I got blue ball because I really thought, like, we were gonna... I didn't expect the Master's face or name reveal, but I thought that's who it was in the final world. So it was like, Master Xehanort! It was like the fucking Scooby-Doo moment. Like, let's see who you really are. It's the fucking guy from the beginning of the story. Like,
yeah, and I want Master Xehanort to kind of be remembered as this flawed, kind of idealist type of character who, you know, did some bad shit, but I mean, was kind of an ideas guy who went a little bit too far, but wasn't just like straight up evil. I don't want to think of him as that, because that's not really how Cage 3 ended things.
Right, yeah.
I think that's the end of the Xehanort saga. Like, no need to bring this guy back. And I know that he's just like a vision in this game in Melody of Memory, but I mean, it kind of comes back and he's just like a big douche playing tricks, and it's like, really? Like, I thought we were a little bit deeper than that.
Yeah.
Like, there was something kind of poetic about the ending of Cage 3 that felt a little tainted by this in the Master Xehanort department.
Yeah, thank you. You put words to it, because I was thinking, you know, I did that whole scenes video where I talk about that final scene where it's like he really leaves on, like, you know, like you said, and Sam was the person who convinced me of this when I mentioned my friend in the video. He says, really only the universe has given Xehanort a pass. You know, Sora and the gang is not like, all right, you know, fine, everybody gets one. Go on off, float off to heaven. He's kind of presented as this guy who, you know, he was like an ideologue, and he had his theories and his way of how he thought the world should be. It wasn't the right way. He gets punished for it. He dies. And you're kind of left thinking, okay, he's kind of slightly, at least halfway redeemed. And then, like you said, he's just a big douche here.
Yeah, and the point in the story for him being there is so that he could give that hint towards the end, you know? But why couldn't they just had an apprentice Xehanort, a Terranort there instead? Because they needed to get that Sora versus Master Xehanort final battle. Right. They needed to get there to kind of close the Cage 3 chapter of the Melody of Memory game.
Right, yeah.
But they kind of betrayed the series at large in order to... Master Xehanort even changes into his own old clothes just for the fight. Yeah. It's like, where'd that come from?
Hold on, let me get my coat.
Yeah. It was the weirdest clothes change in the series since Mickey lost his shirt.
Yeah, of course.
Okay? It was really out of nowhere. I don't know why that happened.
Yeah.
Well, I know why that happened. Because they needed the classic battle to end things. Yeah. But it was weak. They did a really bad job of getting to that point, I thought. Yeah. And not that I mind the banter and everything between him and Kairi, but like,
I love that,
the purpose of it is big dumb.
Yeah, it is kind of big dumb.
Yeah.
But, you know, and we're I would consider this all nitpick. I don't know about you. You know, I'm not losing sleep over how they handled this. It's just kind of like, oh, wouldn't it have been nice if they, you know, paid a little more respect to both of the characters?
Yeah.
But whatever. Let's get into the real meat and potatoes of this. So, well, we knew that, you know, Fairy Godmother, she's a new main character. Like, as soon as she got, like, that soliloquy at the end of Remind, I was like, oh, okay.
Here's my note on Fairy Godmother. Fairy Godmother took half the series off, but now apparently she just runs shit.
Yeah.
She's in charge now.
Yeah, she can just go to the final world. She's like, yeah, it's a fucking flick of the wrist. Fucking,
they could just do that now.
Flick and swish, and we're in the final world. Great.
Yeah.
I was saying, how does she know the girl from Verum Rex? And it's because she's a gamer girl. That's how she knows. She's played all 13 Verum Rex games, even the shitty spin-offs. So that's how she knows. But
she's old.
She is very old. She's been around since Verum Rex 1, so that's how she knows the character. Yeah. And I think I talked about this in my review of Remind, but I was like, oh, Sora knows Strelitzia, like that's who the Enamel Star is. And then I put in a text ad, I was like, oh no, wait a minute, I think it's the girl from the fucking Verum Rex trailer. And this, I mean, this is all but confirmed that that's who it is.
Seems that is the case.
So, it's, in that way, it was kind of gratifying. I'm sure other people came to that conclusion as well. But, as soon as they started talking about fictional worlds in the lab, I started shaking my head. I was like, oh, we're doing this, aren't we?
Yeah.
We're going, like, if one of these characters says video game, I'm going to lose my shit. Because I've been very hesitant about the Verum Rex plotline of it all. I think most of it for me is like, I'm really into the foreteller stuff. Like, I really want to see where that stuff's going to go. And then, like, in Cage 3, like, they start piling on all this Zora, Verum Rex stuff. And I'm like, I wish we could just, like, stick with the foreteller side of things. But, you know, with Remind and with this now, I am getting more and more intrigued by it. It's just a very, you know, it's another complicated concept to introduce to a series that already has traveling hearts and time travel and vessels, and now we're doing unreality. Like,
yeah,
I don't know. How do you feel about that?
I feel good about it, actually. I kind of dig it. I am more invested in the foretellers and the masters, that side of it, though I think they will converge at some point. Mm-hmm. It does seem like, I mean, it is confirmed now that the foretellers did go to this other world, this world of unreality, this world of fiction, rather than die in the war.
Right.
So those two plot points will converge at some point.
Mm.
I've got a little theory about what's going to happen with this fictional world, and I think they are going to say video game in the game.
Oh, no. Listen, if they call... oh, man. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
I think this fictional world is like the Kingdom Hearts world of media to them.
Okay.
Like, if this was the real world, like our fictional world, like our other side, would be something like Kingdom Hearts. Okay. And then when we go to like Purgatory or something, like you could meet Sora there. Or
okay,
like
well that'd be great. You know, that's like the only good thing about dying then.
That's what I'm thinking, though. I think they're gonna take that angle. Either that's true and that's really weird, or it's like a red herring and it's a way for them to like bring Tron back into it somehow.
Oh, yeah.
And they'll be like, hey, we met somebody like that's kind of been a part of like a video game before. But I think it all is playing into this hearts can develop within like a sentient or a non-sentient
anything, really.
thing.
I think we talked about this in the long-ass KH3 podcast that we did, where it's like, what's that quote that they show at the beginning of KH3? Like, anything... It's like, I'm doing the fucking Shigeru quote again, but it's like, anything can be a world if you dive in. What is it? You know what I'm talking about?
Yes.
Go start up KH3, they play a quote at the beginning. That's what it is. Like, that's... You know, we're thinking that's where they're going with the entire message of the series, is that you can assign... I don't know if the right word would be a heart or sentience or just existence to anything if you set your mind to it. Which, you know, it might be a little... It's Disney, Square Enix, typical fare.
Yeah.
But in terms of like there being an overall message of the series, I don't hate it. I'm still apprehensive about how we're getting there and how we're going. Can we say the Q word? We haven't even said that yet.
Do it.
Quadratum.
Yeah.
Or is it quadratum? Because you have a note about...
I said for some reason... that name drop gave me chills, but even more importantly, though, Riku immediately pronounces it a different way when he says it back.
Yeah,
voice actors not in the same room.
Right. I think the star says like quadratum, and he's like, okay, so how do we get to quadratum or something like that, or the other way around? I don't know, but that was funny. I do like the name, like as the
it's cool.
If
it's
we're giving
square,
it's very square. Yeah, it's like very
It's also
Midgar.
square.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's like literally. Oh my god, that's probably intentional, you know.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's why I'm thinking this is all gonna actually play into video games. It's getting so meta that I wouldn't be shocked if yep, the world of video games. That's that world of fiction.
Ugh.
Or like the Kingdom Hearts world of movies. Do they have movies in Kingdom Hearts? I feel like if there is a time that they're gonna bring some shit like that up, this is that time. And I think they're gonna be wrong, but I think they're gonna be saying these terms like video games or like. They've already said, like, computer programs and stuff like that.
Yeah, but that's different to me. I don't know why it is.
Because they always could hide behind data.
Yeah, that's what it is. They're not hiding behind the data anymore.
Yeah, right.
Yeah. It's just very strange. I never took Kingdom Hearts to be a game that was going to get, like, that meta, you know?
If they weren't saying fictional, if they kept saying unreality, I would be throwing this theory out. But since they keep saying fictional...
Yeah. I say it every time. Every time I say, you know what? They're getting me a little bit more each time. I'm getting more on board with it, but I'm still nervous. So, you know, we'll see what the next game has in store. Is it going to be like a Riku solo game? Like, what is this? And how do you work the Disney into it, if you do it at all? Is it going to be a side game where you're not doing any Disney? You know, it's on the Switch, or it's only on PS5 or Xbox Series X or whatever, because that's just what we need, is more exclusive titles. But, like, what are we doing with Riku? We're going
to be a Riku game.
Yeah, for sure. I think so. I just don't know, like, how do you work in most of the traditional Kingdom Hearts, you know, mainstays with a game where Riku goes to Quadratum, you know? It's interesting stuff, you know? Like you said towards the top, that's how the games hook you. That's how they stay successful, is you're like, how the fuck are they going to do this?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. I have a couple side notes that I think you might enjoy.
Okay.
The calm music that plays.
Oh, yeah.
In that scene in Handsome Study is really fun.
Yeah.
Little remix of it.
Yeah, what is that? That's not, what is that called?
Not La Pasa.
No, it's the other one. Dun, 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 dun. The sad one?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called.
We're meeting in the castle.
Yeah, I'll put that on the screen when I figure that out. Yeah, I like that.
Lexius has been in as many games as Demix, Luxord, and the Master of Masters combined.
Oh.
Kill me.
Oh yeah, that sucks. And he's not even talking for most of them.
Yep.
He's talking in 2 of them.
He's mute in like 5 out of 7.
Cage 2 and Birth by Sleep he talks, right? Or no, sorry, Recommon. Yeah. Yeah, that's a big oof.
Vexen is extremely intrigued by the word city.
Is he?
Like, out of all the things, Riku's just like, oh yeah, I'm dreaming of a big city. And Vexen, of all the things that, like, everybody's talking about, worlds of unreality, fiction and everything, he's just like, a city?
A city?
Really?
A city?
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, you live in a city, Vexen, right? That's where the castle was.
What a weird thing to get hooked on, but I think it's a little bit of a throwing line. Doesn't mean anything, but...
Any other notes?
Are we talking about the post-credit scene?
Oh, yeah, we can talk about that.
Because my note there is, Mickey's such a fucking pussy.
Yeah, he's really, man, and I talk about this in my Remind review, like, he got me back on his good side with that microwave hallway crawl, and then he's being a bitch again. He's like... I
don't know why. He's been wrong about,
so much.
Everything.
Yeah.
He left Aqua behind. He didn't think Sora was going to be able to body Master Xehanort. He needed to, it can only be the Masters.
Yeah.
Right. But no, it could be more than the Masters,
Mickey
apparently, because Sora's done it like 4 times already.
Yep.
He's been wrong about everything. I don't know why we continue to trust this mouse.
Yeah.
When Kyrie was like, oh, maybe we could ask Mickey and Master Yi and Sid for stuff.
Fairy
It's like
Godmother.
only half of that, okay? Only half of that. And Fairy Godmother was like, nope.
Yeah, she
knows about Michael. She knows he'd be a dumbass, man.
She knows about Michael Mouse. She was like, well, dear, we could talk to the Master Jensen, but we'll leave the mouse out. His reads have been rather poor for the last few games. So.
Yeah. Mickey, I don't know what's wrong with him, man.
Yeah.
But, like, he's wrong about everything, and he was, like, ready to, run after Riku. It's like, I think the boy can handle himself, okay?
Yeah.
I think he's gonna be okay.
Yeah.
Take it easy.
Yeah, I'm anti-Mickey again. You had me for almost the entirety of 2020, and then you turn me off in November. He's done.
Michael.
He's Michael Mouse once again.
Yeah.
But yeah, overall, I'm very pleased with the experience. I'm gonna, like I said, I'm gonna go back and play it as soon as we're done recording. Any final thoughts, Sam?
I think it's a very good game. I plan on playing it, for a long time. I think it's going to be one that really ages well. I don't think it's really ever going to get old because there's so many songs, whatever mood you happen to be in. Like, if I play KH2 again, I will at some point. Mm-hmm. I kind of want to go back then to Melody and Memory to then, play the tracks back and everything. I'll be in a KH2 mood, and there'll be like a supplement to each of the games.
Absolutely.
Now. So I think it's a very good tribute to the series on the whole, and I just
add the Cage 3 DLC, and I want a villain pack of songs from the Renaissance movies. I want to play Be Prepared. I want to play Poor Unfortunate Souls. Just fucking do it. I will give you my money. It's free money, Just take it. So
it's free money.
It's free money.
But anyway, I think it's very good, and like I said, I just plan on playing it a lot.
Amen. Checkmate. Thanks for joining us, guys. I'll be back. You know what? I'm going to drop what I'm doing next, for those of you who stuck around. I'm doing a KH1 boss ranking video. So, I don't even think you knew about that.
No. Yeah. Usually I get the scoop beforehand, but this is the
this
is the price that I paid for inviting myself over.
That's right. I'm committing myself to it, so I don't know if it'll be, within the month or whatever, but it'll be the next thing that comes out, unless something crazy happens news-wise. But so look forward to that. And thank you for watching.